It wasn't a war story. It was a love story. What they carried varied by mission. When a mission took them to the mountains, they carried mosquito netting, machetes, canvas tarps, and extra bug juice. But Ted Lavender, who is scared, carried 34 rounds when he was shot and killed outside 10K.
Now playing checkers, man. Put them back. How's the war today, Ted?
Mellow, man. We got ourselves a nice, mellow war today, man. Hey guys, we'll be right back.
Checkmate.
We're not playing checkers!
For the most part, they carried themselves with poise, a kind of dignity.
I swear to God, man, not a sound. Boom, you dropped.
Yeah, but you had to see it.
Pisser, you know, Zatwall Civic.
Sure.
We all got problems, but not Lavender.
No, I guess not. But do me a favor.
Shut up.
That's one smart Indian. Shut up.
The war was over, and there was no place in particular to go. Norman Bowker followed the tar road on its 7-mile loop around the lake, and then he started all over again, driving slowly, feeling safe inside his father's big Chevy, now and then looking out on the lake to watch the scenery. The lake lay flat and silvery against the sun. Along the road, the houses were all low-slung and split-level and modern, with big porches and picture windows facing the water. He drove beneath a canopy of elms, then along the stretch of open shore, then past the municipal docks. There were no fish in the lake except for perch and a few worthless carp. It was a bad lake for swimming and fishing both. He drove slowly, no hurry, nowhere to go. Inside the Chevy, the air was cool and oily smelling, and he took pleasure in the steady sounds of the engine and air conditioning.
I tell you something, O'Brien. If I could have one wish, it'd be that my father send me a letter telling me it's okay if I don't win any medals. That's all my old man ever talks about. Can't wait to see my freaking medals.
Norman Bowker remembered how he had taken hold of Kiowa's boot and pulled hard, but how the smell was simply too much, and how he had backed off and in that way had lost the Silver Star.
I almost won the Silver Star.
How was that?
Just a story. You really want to hear this?
Hey, I'm your father. Norman.
What?
Do you want to hear a story?
Sure.
Alright. A couple days ago, guys started hearing this soft kind of whacked out music. Echoes and stuff, like a radio. You know? Strange gook music comes out right out of the rocks. Far away, but sort of close. They try to ignore it. Thing is though, they can't report music. One guy puts juicy fruit in his ears just to block the sound. So they get on the horn, call back to base and say, hey, we need some firepower to blow away that stupid gook rock band. They can't do that. Wouldn't go down, so they lie there with their mouths shut. That makes it extra bad. Poor dudes can't horse around like normal. Can't even talk to each other, maybe in whispers and all hush hush and revs up the families. All they do is listen. This next part, you won't believe.
Probably not.
You won't.
Now and then, however, there were times of panic, when they squealed or wanted to squeal but couldn't. They would force themselves to stand, as if in slow motion, frame by frame. The world would take on the old logic. Absolute silence, then the wind, then the sunlight, then voices. Speaking of Courage was written in 1975 at the suggestion of Norman Bowker, who 3 years later hanged himself in the locker room of a YMCA in his hometown in central Iowa. They were not love letters, but Lieutenant Cross was hoping, so he kept them folded in plastic at the bottom of his rucksack. She often quoted lines of poetry. She never mentioned the war, except to say, "Jimmy, take care of yourself." The letters weighed 10 ounces. They were signed Love Martha, but Lieutenant Cross understood that love was only a way of signing and did not mean what he sometimes pretended it meant. A true war story is never moral. The dead guy's name was Kurt Lemon. Right away, Lemon and Rat Kelly started goofing. They were kids, they just didn't know it. A nature hike, they thought. Not even a war, so they went off into the shade of some giant trees. "20 years later, I can still see the sunlight on Lemon's face. He must have thought it was the sunlight that was killing him. It wasn't the sunlight. It was a rigged 105 round. But if I could ever get the story right, how the sun seemed to gather him up and pick him up and lift him high into the tree." But this, too, is true. Stories can save us. I'm 43 years old and a writer now. And even still, right here, I keep dreaming Norman Bowker alive, and Ted Lavender too, and Kiowa, and Kurt Lemon, and several others whose bodies I once lifted and dumped into a truck. They're all dead, but in a story, which is kind of dreaming, the dead sometimes smile and sit up and return to the world.